School of Management Studies IGNOU presents an audiobook on the course MMPC-001 Management Functions and Organizational Processes for MBA program. Presenting Block 3 Managerial Processes Part-2. Unit-8 Leading and Motivating Part-3.
Motivation, meaning and definition. Motivation is the process of creating organizational conditions which will impel employees to strive to attain company goals. Motivation represents an unsatisfied need which creates a state of tension or disequilibrium, causing the individual to move in a goal-directed pattern towards restoring a state of equilibrium by satisfying the need. According to Dubin, and I quote, "Motivation is the complex of forces starting and keeping a person at work in an organization." Unquote. Seen from the corporate perspective, motivation is the willingness to put forth effort in pursuit of organizational objectives. Motivation refers to the willingness of individual members to set and accept challenging goals and to take responsibility, their involvement in work, and their job satisfaction. It is a process which begins with a physiological or psychological need or deficiency which triggers behavior or a drive that is aimed at a goal or an incentive. The purpose of motivation is to create conditions in which people are willing to work with zeal, initiative, interest, and enthusiasm, with a sense of responsibility, loyalty, and discipline, and with pride and confidence in the most cohesive manner so that the goals of an organization are achieved effectively. Motivational techniques are utilized to stimulate employee growth. Motivation is a combination of many diverse elements which are rather difficult to define. However, two elements have been regarded as important. Number 1. Understanding of the fundamental drives, urges, needs of the people which are subjected to emotional stimulation or motivation. And number 2. Communication with people so that they may have a satisfactory stimulus to their urges. Motivation is a function which a manager performs in order to get his subordinates to achieve job objectives. It is not merely a management process. There is another side to it, the individual being motivated. Psychologists call individual motivation as a state of tension. The motivation of a group is as important as self-motivation. A group can be motivated by improving human relations and dealing with people in a humane way, by developing the will to do, by encouraging involvement in their work, and by giving them an opportunity to improve their performance, and by complimenting or praising them. Other important factors which motivate individuals include respect for individuality, good pay, opportunity to do interesting work, feeling that the job is important, a large amount of freedom on the job, and opportunity and self-development. No firm can be productive without motivated employees. Motivating factors. Some managers try to motivate employees through the use of rewards, punishments, and formal authority. But motivation is much more complicated than that. It involves ideas of family, teamwork, variety, growth, learning, salary, other benefits, and the like. Work in itself has become more important than the employer or the organization. Executives today are interested in challenging assignments that involves application of one's mind. Risk involvement is appreciated and viewed as exciting, so much so that easy jobs involving simple tasks and no risk are demotivating. Workers, executives, and managers today would like to have a say in policies, the rules and regulations, the targets, and other job-related issues. Employees do not enjoy a routine, monotonous role or being a cog in the wheel. They prefer taking risks, making decisions, and delivering the goods. Need for individuality and for unique identity is felt strongly among young executives today. Innovation and creativity have come to be crucial needs for executives today. They like to be listened to for their suggestions and new ideas. They also enjoy implementing new, better, and effective strategies to reach the goal of their team or organization. There is also the need for the job profile to suit one's aptitude. A software consultant who has aptitude for development but no inclination for teaching, if allocated as training faculty, will not be motivated. Another consultant who enjoys teaching will be highly motivated. If allocated as training faculty, will not be motivated. Another consultant who enjoys teaching will be highly motivated when allocated as training faculty. There is also the growing need amongst today's workers or executives for enriching one's skills, that is, for individual development. Employees look forward to development of new skills rather than security of jobs in an organization. Training and development programs also provide a break from the daily routine and work pressure. In the absence of such activity, an employee feels demotivated and is unable to give his best to his employer. Today's employees, therefore, want to add value to themselves as they make valuable contributions to their organizations. Just as employees have a need for challenging work involving risk, they also need to be forgiven for any mistakes made in the process. Employees feel motivated and perform better when mistakes are forgiven or ignored. Importance of motivation. Probably no concept of human resource management receives as much attention of academicians, researchers, and practicing managers as motivation. The increased attention towards motivation is justified by several reasons. Number 1. Motivated employees are always looking for better ways to do a job. This statement can apply to corporate strategies and to production workers. When people actively seek new ways of doing things, they usually find them. It is the responsibility of managers to make employees look for better ways of doing their jobs. An understanding of the nature of motivation is helpful in this context. Number 2. A motivated employee generally is more quality-oriented. This is true whether we are talking about a top manager spending extra time on data gathering and analysis for a report, or a clerk taking extra care when filing important documents. In either case, the organization benefits because individuals in and outside the organization see the enterprise as quality conscious. A clear understanding of the way motivation works helps a manager make his employees quality oriented. Number 3. Highly motivated workers are more productive than apathetic workers. The high productivity of Japanese workers and the fact that fewer workers are needed to produce an automobile in Japan than anywhere else is well known. The high productivity of Japanese workers is attributable to many reasons, but motivation is the main factor. Number 4. Every organization requires human resource in addition to financial and physical resources for it to function. 3 behavioral dimensions of human resources are significant to the organization. Number 1. People must be attracted not only to join the organization but also to remain in it. Number 2. People must perform the task for which they are hired and must do so in a dependable manner. And number 3. People must go beyond this dependable role performance and engage in some form of creative, spontaneous, and innovative behavior at work. In other words, for an organization to be effective, it must come to grips with motivational problems of stimulating both the decision to participate and the decision to produce at work. Number 5. Motivation as a concept represents a highly complex phenomenon that affects and is affected by a multitude of factors in the organizational milieu. A comprehensive understanding of the way in which an organization functions requires that increasing attention be directed towards the question of why people behave as they do on their jobs. And number 6, yet another reason why increasing attention is paid towards motivation can be found in the present and future technology required for production. Increased use of technology results in greater efficiency, higher productivity, and better standard of living to the people. Motivating steps. Jusius has observed that certain steps should be adopted in motivation. They are: number 1, sizing up. This involves ascertaining motivational needs. All employees need motivation but of varying kinds and in varying degrees. Number 2, preparing a set of motivating tools. This requires a selection of specific tools of motivation. An executive, from personal experience, from the experiences of others, and with the help of the personnel department, may draw up a list of devices that may motivate different types of people under different circumstances. Number 3, selecting and applying motivation. The executive should decide the words, the tone of the voice, and the gestures to be used and make necessary rehearsal for their proper use. Besides, it is also to be considered where and when motivation is to be applied. The place and timing for this purpose are important. And number 4, feedback. This involves the finding whether an individual has been motivated. If not, some other device may be applied. While establishing the steps of motivation, an executive should be guided by certain rules. According to Jusius, these rules are: number 1, self-interest and motivation. People are by nature selfish. When a person realizes that his own interests are best served by the attainment of an organization's goals, is likely to be motivated. Number 2, attainability. It is necessary to establish goals that are attainable, and when such goals are achieved, it leads to employee satisfaction. Attainable goals frustrate people. Number 3, the human element. Motivation appeals to emotions and feelings. The executive who is most successful as a motivator can trace success invariably to the skill in dealing with people's feelings, which can bring out the best in people because it makes them feel good, feel significant, feel worthwhile, and feel that they are growing. Number 4, individual-group relationship. Motivation must be based upon group as well as individual-centered stimuli. And number 5, managerial theory. Management must base its motivational efforts on sound theory. Types of motivation. If a manager wants to get the work done by employees, may either hold out a promise of a reward for them for doing work in a better or improved way, or instill fear into them to do the desired work. In other words, may utilize a positive or negative motivation. Both these types are widely used by managements. Positive motivation includes praise and credit for work done, competition, pride, delegation of responsibility, appreciation, and pay. Positive motivation leads to a good team spirit, cooperation, and feeling of happiness. Negative motivation is based upon force and fear. Fear causes persons to act in a certain way because they are afraid of the consequences if they don't. Fear motivation is a push mechanism. Imposition of punishment frequently results in frustration among those punished and an unfavorable attitude to the job. In spite of these demerits, negative motivation has been used to achieve the desired behavior in some cases. There is no management which has not used the negative motivation at some time or the other. However, in recent years, the trend has been towards the use of positive motivation. Extrinsic motivation is concerned with external motivators which employees enjoy, like pay, promotion, status, fringe benefits, holidays, retirement plans, and health insurance schemes. By and large, these motivators are associated with financial rewards. Intrinsic motivation, on the other hand, is concerned with the feeling of having accomplished something worthwhile. That is, the satisfaction one gets after doing one's work well. Praise, responsibility, recognition, esteem, power, and status are examples of such motivation. Theories of motivation. There is no shortage of models, strategies, and tactics for motivating employees. All the theories can broadly be classified as content theories and process theories. Number 1. Maslow's theory or hierarchy of needs. People go to work in order to satisfy their needs and aspirations. These needs are not constant, but they change according to circumstances, status, environment, society, groups, and so forth. From Professor A.H. Maslow in 1943, we have a theory of motivation where he identified a hierarchy of needs. Maslow argued that as one's need is met, then the individual moves on to the next need. First of all, the individual has the basic physiological needs such as food, shelter, clothing, and works in order to satisfy these needs. Once these needs are satisfied, the individual moves to a higher plane of needs. Secondly, an individual has safety needs such as security and protection, the need to provide a safe and secure physical and emotional environment, and environment that is free from threats to continued existence. Once these needs are met, the individual moves on to satisfy the third type of needs called social needs or belongingness needs. These needs relate to one's desire for social acceptance and friendship. The fourth type is self-respect and self-esteem. The esteem needs focus on one's desire to have a positive image, to receive recognition, attention, and appreciation from others for one's contribution. The last type of needs are those of self-fulfillment and self-actualization for realizing the fullest stature. People who have become self-actualized are self-fulfilled and have realized their full potential. Self-actualization is an individual's motivation to transform the perception of self into reality. Number 2. McGregor's Theory X and Theory Y. Professor Douglas McGregor has presented two opposite sets of assumptions about employees. These have been represented by Theory X and Theory Y. Theory X represents standard bureaucratic and authoritarian attitude towards employees and is based on certain assumptions such as Number 1. The average person dislikes work and whenever possible will avoid it. Number 2. Most people are not ambitious, have little desire for responsibility and prefer to be directed. Number 3. To get people to work, it is necessary to use strict control, threats, constant pressure, coercion, persuasion, and even punishment. Number 4. Most people have little capacity for creativity in solving organizational problems. And number 5. People actually like to be directed and supervised very closely. McGregor, drawing heavily on Maslow's hierarchy of needs, concluded that the Theory X assumptions about human nature, when universally applied, are often inaccurate, and that the management approaches that develop from these assumptions may fail to motivate many individuals to work towards organizational goals. He observes that management by direction and control may not succeed because it is a questionable method for motivating people whose physiological and safety needs are reasonably satisfied and whose higher level needs are becoming predominant. He therefore developed an alternative theory of human behavior called Theory Y. Theory Y assumes that people are not by nature lazy and unreliable. They enjoy work, show initiative and imagination in self-direction and self-control. Some assumptions of Theory Y are: Number 1. Work is a natural activity like playing and rest if the conditions are favorable. Number 2, close supervision and threats of punishment are not the only ways to get people to do things. Number 3, motivation occurs at the social esteem and self-actualization levels as well as at the physiological and security levels. And number 4, people can be self-directed and be creative at work if properly motivated. The third theory of motivation is Herzberg's two-factor theory. A significant development in motivation research was made by Friedrich Herzberg in 1959 and associates, who distinguished between motivational and maintenance factors in the work situation. Maintenance of hygiene factors are those which belong to the company policies and administration, supervision, interpersonal relations, working conditions, pay, job security, personal life and status. Herzberg propounds that these factors help in removing discomfort, dissatisfaction and discontent on the part of the employees but are not motivators as traditionally perceived by management. These potent dissatisfiers are called maintenance factors on the job because they are necessary to maintain a reasonable level of satisfaction in employees. They are also known as hygiene factors because they support employees' mental health. But in themselves, they are not motivators according to Herzberg and his team. The real motivators that primarily build strong motivation and high job satisfaction among employees are achievement, recognition, advancement, work itself, possibility of growth and responsibility. According to Herzberg, the motivating factors are intrinsic to the job while the maintenance and hygiene factors are extrinsic to it. According to Dummett, Campbell and Haeckel in 1967, Herzberg's motivation hygiene theory has accomplished 3 important objectives. They are: number 1, it has discovered those features of job situation that makes the difference between satisfaction and dissatisfaction. Number 2, unlike the tradition of most previous research, it emphasizes those job features that lead to change in feelings towards a job. And number 3, it developed a taxonomy of job situations consisting of satisfying and dissatisfying features. Satisfying features which the employees would like to attain and the dissatisfying features that they would like to avoid. Herzberg's theory has, however, been criticized by many authors. For example, Keith Davis has observed that a limited testing of the model on blue-collar workers suggests that some items normally considered as maintenance factors are frequently considered motivational factors by the blue-collar workers. Some authorities doubted whether the factors leading to satisfaction and dissatisfaction are really different from each other. In less developed countries, it is likely that workers will designate some of the maintenance factors or hygiene factors as motivators since they are yet to meet some of their lower order needs. Number 4 is McClelland's theory of motivation. McClelland's theory in 1953 is quite extensive and involved. His contribution in developing the concepts of need for achievement and need for power is of great significance. According to him, 2 motives are innate, namely, striving for pleasure and seeking to avoid displeasure or pain. All the other motives are acquired. According to him, people can be classified into 2 broad groups, one small and the other large. Those falling in the small group are challenged by opportunities and are willing to work hard to achieve some goal. People in the large group, on the other hand, have less need of achievement and are not so challenged by opportunities. Achievement-oriented people possess certain characteristics. They prefer a moderate degree of risk because they feel that their efforts and abilities will probably influence the outcome. In business, such people are successful entrepreneurs and the organization with many such people grows faster and is profitable. McClelland differentiates between personal power and institutional or social power. Individuals high in need for personal power like to inspire subordinates and expect the latter to respect and obey them. Managers who are high in institutional power, however, tend to exert authority and influence so as to achieve the goals of the organization rather than to gain any personal ego satisfaction. Number 5. Room's expectancy theory. Expectancy theory, as applied to behavior at work, has been formulated mainly by Victor H. Room in 1964. It explains that motivation is the product of the values one seeks and one's expectations of the probability that a certain action will lead to those values. According to his theory, an employee's motivation is a force driving him to achieve some level of job performance. The force or effort depends upon the perception of the probability or likelihood of certain outcomes resulting from the efforts as related to the value one places on these outcomes. For example, if an employee believes that if one performs at a high level, will be paid in a higher income which is of value to him, then produce more. In achieving a high level of performance, one has the satisfaction which in turn influences future effort. The essence of this theory is that an employee performs a kind of cost-benefit analysis. If the estimated benefit is enough to justify the cost of greater effort, one is likely to put in greater effort. Number 6. Skinner's behaviorist theory. The Harvard University psychologist Professor Skinner in 1953 has contributed a new concept of motivating people, and the concept is variously called behavior technology, behavior modification, or positive reinforcement. Professor Skinner suggests that people perform better and gain better in psychological satisfaction on the job when they receive proper appreciation and praise for their good work. Likert's employee-centered approach. Rennes Likert, from 1961 to 67, believes that as organizations move from a highly exploitative autocratic system to a democratic style, they will meet the needs of human beings and become productive organizations. Likert and his colleagues conducted research at the University of Michigan and came to the conclusion that both human resources and capital resources need to be considered as assets requiring proper management. They also suggested that if a supervisor wants to motivate workers, one should be employee-centered rather than job-centered. Number 8. Argyris, from 1957 to 64. He feels that organizations treat individuals in the system as children, assign to them simple tasks, and create dependence in them by exercising too much control over them. This is dysfunctional to healthy humans and results in frustration and a lack of work role involvement. Argyris argues that by giving increased responsibility, a broader range of tasks and independence, employees will reach their potential and increase their productivity. Thus, by treating individuals like mature adults, organizations can increase productivity while at the same time meet the needs of individuals for independence and growth. Number 9. Lyman Potter and Edward Lawler in 1968. They came up with a comprehensive theory of motivation. If the reward to be obtained is attractive or of expected utility, then the individual will decide to put in the necessary effort to perform the job. If the expected reward is not so, it will lower one's efforts. In addition, the individual performing the job should also have accurate role perceptions. Role perceptions refers to the way in which people define their jobs. We often hear managers say that the job is what the employee makes of it. Some people may take on additional responsibilities and expand the scope of their job. Others may avoid some aspects of their job and hence narrow its scope. Thus, people may perceive their roles differently. Potter and Lawler's model is of great significance to managers since it sensitizes them to focus attention on certain points to keep their employees motivated. They are: Number 1. Put the right person on the right job. Number 2. Carefully explain to employees what their role is and make sure they understand it. Number 3. Prescribe in concrete terms the actual performance levels expected of the individuals. And number 4, make sure that the rewards dispensed are valued by the employee. That is, find out what kind of rewards are appropriate and attractive to the employee and see if such rewards can be given to them. Number 10. Goal setting theory. Goal setting is one of the most effective and widely practiced tools of motivation. Goals are the immediate or ultimate objectives that employees are trying to accomplish from their work efforts in organizations. Goals lead employees to compare their present performance with the goals laid down. When individuals succeed in reaching a goal, they feel competent and successful. Goals need to fulfill certain requisites if they were to impact employee behavior. One requirement is that goals must be specific. Similarly, organizational support towards goal attainment, supported by individual abilities and traits, lead to goal realization. Goal setting theory is a very powerful technique of motivation. When used correctly, carefully monitored and actively supported by managers, goal setting can improve performance. Summary of the unit. In this unit, you have learnt about leadership as a process of influence on others to work willingly for group objectives. You have also come across different leadership styles such as human relation style, theory X and Y styles, authoritarian, democratic, and laissez-faire style, employee orientation and production orientation styles, consideration and initiating structure styles, and scientific managerial styles. Styles have been related to various theories of leadership such as trait theory, group and exchange theory, social learning theory, managerial grid theory, contingency theory, and path goal theory. You have also learnt about the importance of motivation followed by theories of motivation. Thus, it's learned that leading and motivation aspects play an important role for a manager.
You were listening to the audiobook by the School of Management Studies, IGNOU, for MBA program. Course code MMPC-001, Management Functions and Organizational Processes. Course Coordinator, Professor Srilata, School of Management Studies, IGNOU. Voice over by Harpreet Kaur. Edited by Tarannum Jahan. Program assisted by Jagbandhu Jana. Program produced by Manoj Kumar Singh. This program was brought to you by Electronic Media Production Center of Indira Gandhi National Open University.